to order with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Jennifer.
Commissioner Tikkanen?
Here.
Commissioner Koskela?
Here.
Commissioner Anderson?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson? Here. Commissioner Britz?
Here. We have a quorum. Approval of the minutes of the April 13th, 2021 meeting.
So moved.
I'll support.
Moved by Commissioner Anderson, supported by Commissioner Johnson to approve the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries. Approval of the agenda with or without any additions.
I have one addition. Consider restoring 4 months of training funds effective June 1st to the budget.
The what?
Restoring training funds back to the budget for beginning June 1st for the current fiscal year.
You want that under new business?
Doesn't matter. Yeah, probably in a new business.
Item 8.
Sure.
I'd entertain a motion to have your agenda approved with the addition.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Tikkanen, supported by Commissioner Anderson to approve the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries. Public comments. Anybody here that wants to address the board?
I would.
State your name and go to it.
Jim Wainio from Jasper, Michigan. I think there's a lot of people here who in our area who are concerned about the election. And I would wonder if the last election has been legitimate. And is there any way we can verify that our future elections will be legitimate? There was mail-in voting, there was voting machines that were connected online. There were many different things that I and many other people have questions about. We're not aware of how these things actually work, how they function, and we're just not sure that our elections are being fair and proper anymore. And it seems like a forensic audit is what we would like to see. I don't know if it's even feasible or monetarily possible, but the real issue is that there are a lot of people who no longer have faith that our elections are fair and right. I just want to bring that up and wonder if there's anything the board can do to verify this. If they are good, then we have to assure the people that this is true, because there's a lot of questions on this now. If it's not good, then it should be corrected. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I'd like to respond.
If they go ahead with the live people, and I'll bring these in afterwards.
You got a name?
We're going to go live first, then we'll take the computer.
Yes.
My name is Teresa Kariniemi. I actually have a degree in the computer field. My degree is AEI TVC. I also worked the elections this past year. As far as the election integrity is concerned, I know that we did our best to make sure that the elections were fair and accurate, but the machines themselves, the software, I was watching Matthew Paterno and the way he was describing it. The software is not good on the machines and the Dominion machines. He did a sample election. What he did was he put in, okay, so he put in 4 for Trump and 2 for Biden, and he went on and put on in others results for other people for the elections. And then what happened was he opened the elections, he ran the ballots through, then he ran the tapes. Well, okay, the tapes matched the voter logs, but then the ballots, they didn't match what was ran through the machines because the software was off. It wasn't what the people did. It was what the ballots were off compared to what the tapes said. It said that the tape said there were 4 Trumps for Biden, or four votes casted for Biden. There were 2 for Trump's. When on the ballots there were four casted for Trump, whereas there were 2 for Biden, and it flopped the votes. It was the software integrity that was off. It wasn't whether it was connected to the internet or not, but the thing we need to question here is the software integrity. So I'm like, we really need to think about doing a forensic audit, because what Jennifer did was absolutely amazing. I worked the elections. I know, I watched. None of the elections were online here. It was within the software itself that was off. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you.
A quick question, please, ma'am.
Sure.
Did you work the election here in Houghton County?
I did
Okay.
in Hancock Township.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I have 2. Erik Kiilunen first.
Hello.
Hello, Eric.
Hello.
Hello.
You got me? Do you have me?
Yep. Yes.
All right.
Can you hear us?
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right, commissioners, the issue today before us today is a lack of trust. This lack of trust is generated by a global effort to discredit the systems that created the success and stability of America that Americans have enjoyed since 1776 through the late 1940s, when the family and faith roots that nourish these United States of America began to be attacked by radical socialists. The attack was intensified in the late 1960s and finally boiled over in 2020. In 2020, we witnessed a society that was turned on its head, in my opinion, intentionally. My political activity began with the coronavirus response by our federal, state, and county officials. After the first shutdown affected our state, I investigated the challenge and concluded that the virus was just another tool used by our political establishment on both sides to defraud the citizens of the United States of the one thing that matters most: freedom. The activity of our elected officials, unelected officials, and other persons of authority to disconnect their cognitive abilities from the reality on the ground, in my opinion, is astounding. It appears that no one is willing to share their original thought for fear of being blacklisted, shamed, unfriended, or deplatformed. When the President of the United States can be deprived of his right to free speech, we have a problem. This problem goes far beyond Democrat and Republican, as far as I can tell. At our state and federal government, there is a little difference between Democrat and Republican. The line that separates us now is oppressive government and limited government. I have 2 issues that I'd like to address today: the 2020 election, the coronavirus, and this county's response to both. I do not believe that our county clerk, Jennifer Kelly, did anything knowingly wrong in the 2020 election. I have come to appreciate her work and believe that what she did what she thought was right. However, I think that the machines that were used to execute the 2020 election have been compromised. How else can we explain the need for Dominion to send a letter threatening action to all clerks who might consider sharing a machine for a forensic audit? The work in Antrim County and attorney Matt DePerno suggests that Houghton County should audit its election results and voting machines if needed. His work can be found online at depernolaw.com. If our county's commissioners are not familiar with his work, you owe it to the citizens to review it, this case, and then ask yourself if you believe our election results are legitimate. Until the votes are manually recounted, there are very few conservatives in either party in your county who will believe that the 2020 election process is legitimate. These conservatives will take action to remove officials elected or appointed who are not willing to represent us. Regarding the coronavirus face mask scam, the scientific paper that I shared with all of you earlier today by email is real science. It supports the view that I've held that masks are largely useless. The size comparison chart that I sent with the paper and that Mary Sears should be holding up now shows the relative size of the particle the mask is designed to stop 95% of to a single coronavirus. The large ring represents the screening capability of an N95 mask, which is particulate down to 0.3 micron in diameter. The coronavirus at 0.1 micron in diameter has 9x less cross-sectional area than the mask is designed to filter. It is obvious that these masks will not stop a virus from being breathed into your lungs and creating an infection. And I'm not even considering the ill-fitting surgical masks or useless bandanas that make a mockery of the so-called, quote, science, end quote, our governments claim to follow. The psychological damage to the adults and children of our community far outweigh any perceived benefit. It is time for all of our elected officials to take responsibility for their individual actions or inactions and stop passing the responsibility to higher authorities, whether they are state or federal. The peer-reviewed paper that I mentioned earlier and shared via email was published in Science Direct, a well-known and respected scientific resource. Please take the time to read it, check all the references, and make an educated, informed decision. The citizens of Houghton County do not need a president, governor, nor unelected public health officials to tell us how to live our lives when common sense and applied science is all that's needed. Until trust in our governmental systems are restored, there will not be harmony in our community or country at large. We can make a good start in Houghton County by auditing our own 2020 election data with a manual recount at a minimum. We can follow with a forensic audit if the manual count proves irregularities. I am also asking the county commissioners to make a public statement condemning the unconstitutional state mask mandates in Houghton County and uphold your oath of office. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else?
We have moments. I do not see any others currently. I do have a follow-up question. My name's Timmonen. My concern is the voter.
Your name?
Timmonen from Tapiola. My concern is with the 2020 election. I watched Mike Lindell's Absolute Proof. If you watch it, if you don't want to watch, it's fine. Just go to 1 hour and 37 minutes. Freeze the frame. 5 from the top on the list says Houghton County. If you keep watching, it'll eventually you'll show it said 1,400 votes were switched. That gives concern. Did that really happen? I would like to see a forensic audit to prove, if you don't believe Mike, prove him wrong, because that's been out there. Millions of people have seen that video. I'm sure I'm not the only one who noticed Houghton County number 5 on the list. I'd like to see an audit, just for my own sake, so next time I go vote, I know my vote counted.
Thank you. Anybody else? Go ahead.
My name's Phil Storm. I'm from Dollar Bay. I just saw a report from Arizona from one of the observers that had technical knowledge of elections and programming, and she said that in Arizona, not one election official had any control over the machines. It was all controlled by Dominion employees. And she said that was very concerning to her. She didn't think Dominion employees should have anything to do with the machine. So I would like to know if Jennifer could tell us whether there were Dominion employees operating machines in Houghton County.
Do you mean were they here in person?
Yeah.
On election day? No, we didn't have any support.
Did they have any
whatsoever.
control over the machines at all?
No, they were not in town at all.
All right.
Usually we'll have somebody close by. I think the closest one was Marquette. So if we had an emergency, equipment went down, we have somebody in the UP that has supplies that can bring them, but nobody was at our precincts on election day.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anybody else?
We have a Steve, no last name.
Fire away, Steve.
Hi. Hi, I'm Steve, and I work with Election Source, who supports Houghton County as well as 64 other counties in Michigan on the Dominion system. So there's a lot to unpack here. So I'd like to first address election security and then move to some of the points that a few of your constituents have brought up.
Excuse me, Steve.
In Michigan.
Hey, Steve, before you get underway, would you give us your last name?
DeLongchamp, DeLongchamp.
Thank you.
So I want to first talk about how we do elections in Michigan, and then I'll address the Lindell and the DePerno videos. In Michigan, the very first thing we do before conducting an election that the municipal clerks do is what's called a logic and accuracy test. And that test is conducted following the Michigan State's promulgated rules. So what's we're doing here is a chart of predetermined results are made. And that's basically a chart telling the clerk how to mark ballots, because what they're going to do is mark those ballots exactly the way that chart tells them to mark it. And then they're going to run those ballots through the machines. And then at the end of that test, they're going to print the totals tape out and make sure that those totals match the predetermined results. And what they're doing there is they're checking that the coding is correct. Now, secondly, they also conduct a public logic and accuracy testing. And that's when the public is invited to come in and witness this test as well. And that's done in every single township and city and precinct across the state. And no doubt done in Houghton County as well. The second thing we have as far as a check and balance on that is after the election, the Board of Canvassers certify those results. And despite what is being said in the DePerno video and in the Dell video, canvassers don't just look at the tape and the ballots. They actually look at the apps to vote and the envelopes, spoiled ballots, adjudicated ballots, etc., before they sign off and certify an election. And lastly, everyone has, every candidate has the right to contest and ask for a hand recount after the election. There's a certain period of time in which they're allowed to do that. I know of no place in Michigan where anyone asked to have that hand recount. It's important to note here that these machines just count ballots. At the end of the day, there is a paper record of the physical ballot of how everyone voted, and no machine can change that record. We have done in the state, and when I say we, I mean the state and county clerks in conjunction with their local clerks, have conducted several audits and hand recounts, particularly in Antrim County. The whole county was hand recounted. And what we found in those thousands of hand recounts that have been done, is that the machine totals matched the hand totals. Paper ballot is the gold standard. When we talk about voting on paper, that's what we do in Michigan and primarily across the country is we vote on paper to have that paper record as a recountable record for such things like this. Now, Dominion nor Election Source fear an audit. What we're asking is that an audit be conducted by a federally accredited company, third-party company, that understands and does elections and that is used to this type of software. You don't go to a chiropractor if you have a toothache. They may both be have a doctor in front of their name, but they certainly don't do the same things. Now, going back to the Lindell or the DePerno video that was released, I take a lot of exception in this. And let's look at it from this perspective. If you give me the keys to a bank and you turn off the alarm and you send the guards away and you give me 2 weeks and the code to get into the safe, I'm going to be able to take the money out of the bank. These guys have done nothing but show that they can, without any of the protocols and safeguards that are in place that guard Michigan elections, and discounting the fact of the paper ballot, the video is laughable at best. I'm surprised that it's. So I'll open up if anybody's got any questions for me, because I would love to vehemently.
Thank you. 5 minutes is up.
All right.
We have one more promote Bill Manderfield.
Go ahead.
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
One of the things about a hand recount is it can verify the ballot, but it won't necessarily verify the legitimacy of the mailed-in ballot. I had 5 of these ballots sitting on my desk from former people that were living at my house. I could have forged them, and so there's probably thousands to millions of those that are possibly not right. So I very much doubt voter integrity right now. The second issue that I was wanting to bring up is the windmills in Adams and Stanton Township. It may not have too much to do with the county, but the county is doing the permit process. You're going to see these monsters from anywhere from Quincy Hill to South Range. They're going to be 500 feet tall, and they're not real green. They tear up the land, they kill birds. It takes so much manufacturing and precious metals and stuff to make these. These are really a really bad thing for an area. And if the people will say they're green because they do put out electricity, but they're irregular electricity. They're not constant electricity, so they have to be backed up by carbon fuel anyways. But what we got is one opportunity to stop these things before they happen. Once they're in, these things are 500 feet tall, and they are an ugly monstrosity around things. In perspective, Michigan Tech's tallest building is a 11-story building above ground, and they're 150 feet, maybe 180 feet tall. We're talking about a 500 feet plus tower, 12 of them in a row. If this isn't enough to excite us, I don't know what it is. It's another rape of the UP. Take the electricity that they're going to create. I mean, they are a government. In my book, they're a government Ponzi scheme, where the government takes money and just gives it to contractors to build these things, and in 20 years they walk away and hopefully they get taken down. There's lots of bad examples you can find online. So I think as a county, we need to look at this really carefully. And if anybody, there's going to be a movement here shortly to try and help block these things, because in the end, nobody's going to be happy with these things other than the one person or the 2 people that put these things up. These things are an atrocity. So that's all I had to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Mary.
Okay, Mary Sears, Franklin Township. First, I have to give you this because I promised Eric I would, and I wasn't doing it.
You were close.
I'm sorry for that. The second thing is I kind of have maybe a different take on the election and fraud and what we should do. For one thing, Jennifer Kelly and I are really good friends, and I know for a fact that girl would never do anything wrong. There's no way.
Thank you, Mary.
And I honestly believe my clerk in her, I honestly believe that there is nothing that she would ever do is wrong either. So I think if there's any fraud, it's way out of our hands. And I think that we should, as a collective, write a letter to Ed McBroom and put this to bed finally, and have him allow DePerno and Pat Colbeck to have their hearing and have this done finally. Have that hearing and have DePerno and Colbeck bring their stuff forward and have whatever it is whatever hoop they need, so we can get rid of this and get on with life.
Where would this hearing be?
Yeah, it's up to Ed, because he he chairs that.
Oversight committee.
Yeah, so that's my request.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have any others? Kenny? Storm? Huh?
I'm listening.
I thought you raised your hand.
One here and one in the back.
Got one in the front, one in the back.
Go ahead.
Who's next?
These folks.
Amy Johnson from Hancock. I would like you to put an end to the mask mandate. I think it's awful. It's time for us to get back to living a normal life. And I am also in favor of having an audit of the Dominion voting machines. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could we have your name once again, ma'am?
Amy Johnson from Hancock.
Amy?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Harold Rudnianin. I just wanted to say that if you really want to understand the windmill situation, what happens to an area, take some money out of the coffer and go take a vacation in, was that Palm Springs, California? I think I was. There's huge windmill farms all through the valleys and stuff. And it's wrecked small towns. It's given people like epileptic kind of diseases because of the flashes from the shadows and stuff like that. And it has created a lot of problems. So if you ever get a chance, go to Palm Springs and get a firsthand look of how it affects an environment. And that's quite a wealthy area. It's quite a nice area, but it's been destroyed. People are moving out, you know, the big money and stuff like that, just because it's not a very nice place anymore. And then what they do with windmills, they use them for, I don't know, 10 years or something, then they just abandon them. And then you have these big metal junk heaps setting in the landscape doing nothing. So just an idea. I would like to see an election forensic audit in our area. I do like, actually, I should say I love living in Houghton County, and I like the commissioners and Mary and all the people that have been so helpful here. I've been watching the Maricopa audits and have noticed that the county commissioners there have been sort of caught funneling huge sums, like in the millions of money from Facebook and other corporations that they can't figure out where the money went to when they try to follow it and stuff like that. And I know our commissioners wouldn't do anything like that, right? So I'd like you to show us and stick up for us. And I appreciate it when you do keep constitutional law and keep us separate from the rest of the craziness that's going on in the world. And I'd like to thank you for it.
Thank you.
Harold, how do you spell your last name?
R-U-D-N-I-A-N-I-N.
That was close.
N-I-N.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I got a D.
I almost had it.
I'm Darice Taylor, D-A-R-I-C-E. Taylor. I'm from Lorien. And also on the windmill thing, they do, from what I've seen, and I haven't seen them all, but they do leave them to rust and just be an eyesore. And the reason for that is that they can't put them in a landfill or anything because they don't biodegrade. They're not recyclable. They're made out of all these fibers and things, and so they're just left. And so that's not a good thing. But mainly what I wanted to say is, I wanted to start out and I totally forgot because he brought up the windmills, but I wanted to say thank you because I know that it takes a certain kind of person to put themselves out there and say, I want to run and go for an election and see if anybody, you know, run it up the flagpole and see who salutes kind of thing, you know. And so it takes a lot, I think, of courage and self-confidence. So I want to say thank you for doing that. And in saying so, also, you know, because of that, you've been elected by the people. You know, your name is commissioner. You know, you've been commissioned to do a job. And that job is the job that the people want you to do. And I know you know that. And that's one of the nice things about living up here is that I think that we understand the Constitution a bit more than the millennial kind of generations and, you know, Xers or whoever they are. And that the Constitution is important to the people up here, and that you understand that you've been kind of set aside. People trust you to do what they want you to do. And so that's mostly, I think, what people are trying to say here today is, this is what we want you to do. We've put you in this position. And then by doing that, you have the authority, so to say, to make decisions and to say, this is what we're going to do. And I agree that we do need to do forensic audit. And not just a presidential thing, but with so much going on with this election, and so many things this way and that way and whatever, and then our county specifically being brought up for worldwide attention, I think it would work wonders for this county if we would do a forensic audit, the whole thing. I mean, find out if we really do want medical marijuana, or, you know, whatever it is, you know, just do that forensic audit and verify the results and give the people of our county back the confidence that they have in our elections.
Thank you. You spoke already?
I have, yeah. I'd like to elaborate on one thing.
Go ahead.
If I may. Steve had mentioned about the canvassers recounting the audit. They don't recount every vote. I was actually on a recount commission one time when Diana Langdon and DeForge votes were being recounted in the Keweenaw County. And I was on that recount. The people recount the votes. And they verify some things, yeah, but they don't recount an entire election. They actually gather high points of the election, take some things, look at them. They don't, the Board of Canvassers don't recount the entire election process. So I just want to make that known.
Thank you.
I am looking for a forensic audit myself too. And thank you for your time, each and every one of you. And Jennifer, you're doing an amazing job.
Anybody else?
We have two more remote. Dan Holcomb.
Go ahead, Dan.
Just want to point out that I was on the ballot this past 2020 election for County Commissioner District 3 for Adams Township and City of Hancock. I did concede to the election after the results were posted, but I just want to say this one thing. If the shoe was on the other foot, I would be doing everything in my power to make sure that the integrity of future elections will be maintained. I mean, whether the evidence is factual or not, it doesn't matter. We should investigate. And I just urge my county commissioners to investigate this and please put an end to this madness. That's all.
Thank you. You have one more there?
One more, Steve Tarnowski.
Hi, this is Steve Tarnowski from Calumet. Can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I would like to echo the comments and requests from the other people. You know, in the interests of truth and integrity and transparency, I would also like to request a forensic audit of our election.
That's it?
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Go ahead, fire away.
I showed up, Naomi Leukuma, and I would like to request a forensic audit also. I watched Mike Lindell's Absolute Proof, and I want to know, is it true that votes were flipped in Houghton County, even though they perhaps didn't affect the outcome? Is that true or not? So I want to know either way. So I know that our elections are safe, and I think if there's nothing to hide, there's no reason we're not doing this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work, and don't forget you're representing we the people. You know how your county's voted, so pay attention to that.
Thank you. Anybody else? Go ahead.
Yeah, Daniel Niemala here. I would also like to request a recount, hand recount, forensic, whatever, because it shouldn't matter which side of the aisle you're on. If you think it's illegitimate or illegitimate, let's find out. If we think Lindell is somewhere way off somewhere, then let's prove that he's way off. If he's right, then we should know that for sure. Also, one thing that I think Steve's name was had mentioned about getting some sort of government agency to oversee this recount. I think we can handle this. The people of Houghton County can handle it ourselves. Most of us, I would say, know how to count. I don't think we need to go to the federal government or something to figure out, have them count our ballots for us. So I guess that's about all I have to say for now.
Thank you. No more takers?
I'll just say from the back, I agree. Sorry, my name is Anita Turbo, and I would agree with what has been said here. I think we need to do a count and just protect the integrity.
Yeah,
of our.
I did it good. It was short and sweet.
I just have closing on. Let me take off. Let me get appointed.
You know who's talking.
Somebody got on mute.
Tom was talking over there.
Did she say Alicia?
Anita.
Anita, thank you.
We all done?
No, that's all. I thought I heard something else come out of there.
Is there anybody else? I can't understand.
I think we're good.
I can't hear them in way in the back.
I think we're okay. Yeah.
We've got one more gentleman there.
One more. Go ahead.
I'm Ivan Niemala. I live in Palki, Portage Township, just a little ways into, from the county line. So my address is Palki. I would agree. I would like to see a forensic audit if that's necessary. At the very minimum, a hand recount of the last election, just to restore trust in our institutions. And I would also like to see, as a further step, I would like to see us go back to paper ballots. Steve from the election source or whatever it was mentioned that paper ballots are the gold standard. They've worked for years and years and years in this country. And I would like to see us go back to that and get rid of electronic voting machines altogether.
Thank you.
Amen.
I don't understand that.
Approval of the bills.
So moved, $828,003.74.
Support. Give it to Gretchen or you? Moved by Commissioner Anderson, supported by Commissioner Britz to pay the bills, $828,003.74. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson? Yes. Commissioner Tikkanen?
Yes.
Commissioner Koskela?
Yes.
Commissioner Britz?
Yes.
Carries. Correspondence. Anybody have any correspondence or stuff we got from Ben? Reports. Standing committees, starting with Mr. Britz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've only got a couple of things. One, the road commission, the snow report for last year. The sun's shining today, so I think we're in good shape now. As of the end of March, we had 193.8 inches. At the same time last year was 247.4. So we had a little bit less snow, and hopefully we have a nice summer. The other thing in the jail, just an update on the jail. The purchase agreement has been written, and I believe everybody has a copy of it to review. It's also gone to the church personnel for their review, and they have it, and we'll wait to get that back from them to move forward on the church purchase. I met with Eric Wara, just had a conversation, and talked with Bruce Peterson, referenced the annexation versus the Public Acts 425. There's some MCL numbers, legislation that I passed on to Ben. I believe he's passed on to the attorney to look at, to see where we can go with the actual property once it's, if it is purchased. The 425 being the,
425 agreement.
Yeah.
For versus annexation.
And the township has already approved that, but we have to look deeper into potential of annexation. Right now, the water and sewer supply comes from Portage Township. If it is possible, annex it. Mr. Wara indicated that the city would have no problem leaving that with the township, so they would still get the revenue from it. as long as their system can handle that type of volume once and if the county ever decides to move forward on development. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Jensen.
I have nothing to report, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Anderson.
Just a few things. One, just follow up on the census. As I think I mentioned before, we're not expecting any numbers for Houghton County or its municipalities until the end of September. I think most of you know that. The census did come out and gave the state of Michigan and all the states population. And for Michigan, between 2010 and 2020, grew by 193,691. So very small growth, at least according to the census. So we went from 9.8 million to 10.1 million, basically, in the state. So that's not good. Obviously, you already heard we're probably will lose one congressional seat in Michigan. But in any event, we're looking forward to the information when it's released in September. I did want to compliment Tom and Ben for putting the recycling bins up at the transfer station. They look very good. I'm very pleased with what action was taken, and very pleased that it was put up, and hopefully people start using them. And hopefully someday, it's open, 3 days a week now, and 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. So I think all of us as commissioners need to get that word out to all of our jurisdictions and make sure people know, especially in the south end. When we used to have those two guys come up from Sydney every month for several months, and they were always looking where they can do single stream recycling. And of course now, even though it's a ride up here, at least we're offering it. So I applaud Tom and Ben for getting that going. And then I just and Tom maybe mentioning this too, but I do want to thank Senator Ed McBroom and Representative Markinen for organizing an event last week, which the chairman was at and Tom was at and I was at, to try to encourage the DNR and the legislature to fund the $10 million needed to restore the flooding damage to the trails in Houghton County. And I know we're all working on that very strongly, but I applaud the chairman and Tom for being there and promoting that funding. And hopefully this time around, we'll try to get some state funding. And again, I thank Senator McBroom and Representative Markinen for bringing some pretty heavy hitters up to take a look at the problems that we have here. And unfortunately, we still have not addressed them all. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Tikkanen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The situation at the transfer station, these are our first baby steps on recycling. However, our administrator reported today that we filled our first bin. Is that correct? That's correct. And we've collected enough money to pay for emptying of it. The concern is, well, there's no such thing as free recycling. And the intent is to try to insulate the taxpayers as much as possible from an added cost for this recycling. If we're going to have recycling, it's going to have to pay for itself. And so far, that's been the case. Again, we're early into it, so we appreciate your patience and support in that regard. And I do want to also commend our staff up there. This is more work for them. That's something else for them to watch. So if we can all make sure that we are following the guidelines. And I do encourage people to bring their recyclables there. Every bin, every ton that we recycle is less that's going into our landfill. And it's not costing the regular taxpayers anything. We did have that event last week where Senator McBroom and Representative Markinen brought their colleagues from below the bridge up. That's the part that impressed me most, is we had three senators here. Senator, help me with the names.
Schmidt was the other one, and then
Bumstead. Senator Bumstead. These are some ranking senators downstate. They carry quite a bit of political clout. Primarily, we had them up here because of the issues that we have with our recreational trails. We've been out of commission since what, 2018?
Yeah.
And yet we have this overwhelming deluge of visitors to the area that want to use these trails. And, you know, it's high time that things got accomplished. Understand that we got knocked on our heels by, you know, this COVID thing last year. But anyway, we you know, kudos to Senator McBroom and Markkinen, as you say. Markkinen, by the way, had his colleague, Representative, was it the Moose?
The Moose, yeah.
The Moose. He's from the Bridge area, but he represents both sides. And so anyway, that was.
Too.
Oh, pardon me. You know, we had Bo LaFave here as well, and so it was. We had good representation. We met before we went and looked at the trails, and had a nice chat with the legislators there about things that the county is suffering from, like this mental health issue. You're going to hear a lot about mental health in the upcoming weeks here, and we're really getting the short end of the stick with especially our law enforcement. On a moment's notice, we have to send two law officers all the way downstate. Most recently, Slim was talking about sending a car to Auburn Hills, you know, to transport someone to, you know, for needed treatment. But we have no facilities locally. We could get, in a 2 hours time, we could have them in Wisconsin, but we're not allowed to, you know, we can't get our governors to, you know, to agree to that. So, you know, I understand enough about this problem to be dangerous, but believe me, we are all concerned about this, and we're trying to work with our legislators downstate to get this straightened out, because it's not fair. It's not fair to you, the taxpayer, to be paying for people to be transported downstate. They have no clue what we have to go through. See, because everything's within, you know, a couple hours of where they're located downstate. You know, we need to encourage our representatives and senators to keep to allow for facilities to be opened up here, or to get our local health providers to have the certification to treat our people up here, or if need be, take them across the state line. The other thing is that Senator McBroom, as you might recall, I think it was mentioned earlier, he's chair of the Senate Oversight Committee. And we've been waiting for a report to come back on the, if they felt that there was any irregularities or concerns from this latest election. I did ask him Friday morning if he has that report ready. He replied that he has not. He expects to complete it very shortly. He thought perhaps he might even have it today. His office person did not contact me, so he indicated that he was willing to actually present that locally. I don't know if that'd be.
They asked me for June. She said that he had a 4 and a 6 o'clock tonight, so he was on Central Time. So
okay,
maybe in June he'd be glad to report. Is what
so in June's meeting, we'll defer that till June's meeting then. But I encourage all of you to come again. I'm very happy to see this. I wish I'd get the word out. You know, we've got a big circuit court room downstairs. You know, might as well use that. It's a lot prettier down there too. But let's get our senator up on Zoom and report on his results. And another interesting thing I think is that, you know, they're doing some good work down there. Don't get me wrong. You know, there's been a real proliferation of Airbnbs up here. I've been contacted by quite a few different residents throughout the county saying that they have concerns about that. You know, if people want to rent their houses, that's their business, but they're seeing people in residential neighborhoods, whether it's on the lake or in town. People are coming in overnight, they're leaving, they're staying for a couple of days, they're leaving again. Sometimes they're on vacation, so they get a little lively, if you know what I mean. It's disrupting some neighborhoods, supposedly. The other thing that is occurring is that
with the huge number of people we have visiting the area, which is wonderful, don't get me wrong, but our emergency services are being stretched to the limit. Keep in mind, a lot of our paramedics and first responders are volunteers, or they're not full-time, they're not doing this for a living, but yet they're weighing the heck out on the trails, you know, and wherever, and picking up people that need to be transported back in. We're not getting reimbursed for, I mean, we meaning all of our emergency services, we're not getting any real meaningful reimbursement on that. There are bills being worked on down there that would actually collect a little bit of an assessment or a tax for these Airbnb properties, or from these Airbnb properties, to be filtered back to the local emergency service providers. It's in the early stages, but let's keep an eye on that effort. And also, there was a bill that I don't think is going to get legs underneath it, but there was a legislator downstate, and he's probably lining his pockets with money from the Airbnb lobby, but he wanted to take away your right as a local municipality to outlaw Airbnbs, which, you know, whether you're in favor of Airbnbs or not is not the question. It's that you don't need anyone down in Lansing taking away your local rights, you know, at your municipal and county level. Sorry, I guess I'll shut up now.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, public comment coming at the end again.
Okay.
I'd like to expand a little bit on what Tom said about the transport of these mental health people, customers that we have. Our patrol cars got over 200,000 miles on them, and it ain't from patrolling. It's from going 1,000 miles or whatever on a trip, paying the deputies overtime and wearing out our patrol cars. And there's absolutely not a penny of reimbursement that comes from mental health, the state, or from anybody. So we wear out our equipment and we can't afford to buy new stuff. Okay, moving on. County officers, we're going to start with Mr. Hext.
All I have to report for the airport is on May 6th, we had our full-scale exercise. And as usual, the emergency service around here did an excellent job. The fire departments, the hospitals, first responders, Portage, we even had Civil Air Patrol in the area doing a drill with us. So they did an excellent job, and the people that actually come in and have the aircraft, that it's a mock-up of a plane crash, they travel all over the country. And they said that when they come here, this is one of the best drills that they've seen. So that's 3 years ago, they said the same thing. So again, we've got excellent first responders on here. They do a great job, fire departments, police, everybody. So that's done. The other thing that was done at the airport meeting was we accepted bids for a new front-mounted runway broom. There was 3 bids from Industrial Marketing, MB, and LaRue, and LaRue won the bid at $574,948. We also accepted bids for a front-end loader, and the loader came from Miller Bradford, Reesburg Incorporated, and McCoy Construction and Forestry, and McCoy is the one that won that bid. Okay, the numbers are looking a little better up there at the airport. If you look at last year's numbers, we were actually 30% higher than what we were the previous year, but that's when the COVID started and everything. So passenger employments are looking better. Last year, though, we had 1,805, and this year we had 1,224. So it is starting to come back, you know, about 50% load factor. This time of the year is historically always a little lower. I expected in June that it'll start to pick up again. And that's what all the indications are showing. The other thing I'd like to say, and I don't know if it's on the agenda or not because I didn't get here in time, but the FAA did send out a public notice for the windmill farm that's going to be in, that they've sent in an application for to the, I guess it'd be the northwest of, the southwest of South Range, Painesville, that area. It's 12 windmills out there, and they are the highest one is 575 feet above the ground level. We're about 1,000 feet above sea level. So if you look at the ground out there, they're gonna actually be 1,409 feet above the site elevation. So they are gonna be massive, they are big. And the FAA is taking public comments right now until May 20th. But the public comments must contain the aeronautical study number, the page number, and it has to be aviation related. So if you do want to give a comment on that, it would have to be aviation related, otherwise they're not going to accept it. But I'm just bringing that to everyone's attention because this is something that should be brought out to the public. And if there is ordinances on it, if there is people that have any concerns over it, now's the time to say something. That's all I have.
Thank you. Todd.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Out there in the construction world, I run into a lot of complaints, mostly of unlicensed contractors. And in the last 3 months, with homeowners and issues with unlicensed contractors, with the assistance of the Sheriff's Department and our prosecutor's office and district court, we managed to get homeowners a little over $20,000 back. And I just like to make you aware of that. And like I thank all our law offices that helped me in that effort and took care of some bad issues out there and got them reimbursed.
And Todd, how does that work? If you do over $600 worth of work, you have to have a builder's license in
Materials
Michigan?
and labor over $600, you have to be a licensed contractor.
Then these people that aren't doing it, are they Houghton County residents or are they from the outside, out of the area?
They were Houghton County residents.
That's curious.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Todd. I don't see the others. Do you see the others here? I'm missing somebody.
I don't see any other department heads, no.
Moving on. New business. Enduring Gifts County Fundraising Initiative.
So, Mr. Chairman, when I took this job on August the 3rd, I did do a lot of research into the Michigan County government. And it is legit, it's real. I talked to the Michigan Department of Treasury, I talked to our auditor. So we are allowed to do this, but it would be a chance to do more fundraising for the county. So we did have one of our concerned citizens from Hancock that just bought a bunch of flashlights for our sheriff department so they have safe nighttime investigations. I think that's really cool. I think there's a lot of people that would have passion to make a gift possibly to the county. Again, I'm asking you for the permission to properly research this, make gift acceptance policies, make spending policies if we get endowments, but possibly this could help to have some sustaining effects to the county. If we get into a fundraising program, again, I would make sure that the county attorney, the Michigan Department of Treasury, and our auditor are all on board. I've done preliminary work with all of them. They all say there's no reason why we can't do it. So I think that there's great opportunities for us if we look at this, and it's not happening in any of the 83 counties, but I bet you it will be if we get started. So I'm asking for permission to formally take that on and make a resolution in June that we actually start a formal fundraising campaign for those that care about making donations to the county. And I think it could be really great for us.
Thank you.
Do you need action today, Ben?
As long as you're comfortable that I'm going to be bringing you something in June to actually get started on it, then that's what I'm asking you for. And I'll properly do all the research that's needed.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion for that?
I'll make that motion to for preparation of that resolution for June.
I'll second that.
Moved by Commissioner Tickett and supported by Commissioner Anderson to send out the county beggar.
I don't know if I want to be called that, but all right.
A fundraising arm.
There it is.
Fundraising division.
We'll work on that language.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're set. Clerk office requests CPL fingerprinting. You have in your packet.
I'll make a motion. We approve the request. Now, how much are you? What figure are we using? There's two of them in here.
I leave that to the board's discretion. Marquette has the cheaper one, which they inform me is going perfect. So I'm all for going for the lower cost one, unless you think I need the higher. I leave it to your discretion.
Well, there's 2,000 difference, right?
Correct.
Right. So I guess I'll make my motion be for the cheaper one, the $5,590 one, if it's reported that it's working good.
I'll support.
Moved by Commissioner Anderson, supported by Commissioner Johnson for the fingerprint request. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Jansen?
Yes.
Commissioner Tickinen?
No.
Commissioner Koskela?
No.
Commissioner Britz?
No. Motion does not carry. Vital records rate increase. It's also from the clerk's office. Let's copy that in front of you. I'd entertain a motion to adopt that.
I'll make a motion that we adopt this rate increase.
Is there support for that motion?
I'll support that so we can have discussion.
Moved by Commissioner Jansen, supported by Commissioner Tickinen for the vital records rate increase. You can start the discussion, Tom.
Jennifer, I appreciate you having a list of all the other municipalities or counties, I should say, with their recording costs. Are they, would this increase kind of put us more in line with what's
Correct.
going on?
If you look, I went a little bit lower than what Marquette just increased. Right. Our state paper's gone up so high, our toner, of course.
Right.
And we haven't had an increase in over 20 years.
That's right. That's right. So just to give a little, the public a little background on why this is being considered. So it's helping our bottom line, and yet we're not jumping out in front of the whole pack, even on a UP basis.
We're behind.
Right. It's bringing us a little closer into that.
Any other comments? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Jansen?
Yes.
Commissioner Tickinen?
Yes.
Commissioner Koskela?
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Britz?
Yes. Carries. MAC and NATO conference Zoom updates.
So we've had a chance to have a lot of Zooms with Michigan Association of Counties, which we call MAC, and had a real nice chance to speak even to the president of NACO, which is National Association of Counties. Obviously, the next big thing on the horizon for us is the American Recovery Plan. So this county is supposed to receive $6.8 million. There's no directives on what we can spend that money on. It's very, very little. The only we can't spend it on is our MERS retirement OPEBs, which would be great, but that's not going to be an approved expenditure. So there's just a lot of information that's coming about this money. It was supposed to be here yesterday, I was told. May 10th is for sure the day we're going to get it. We have not received it in the treasurer's office. So I don't know when we're going to get the money. There's a lot of people in the UP that are actually be scheduling the Zoom of all the administrators to learn as much as we can, but we did have a great chance to get some information from NACO and from MAC. On that Zoom was Jason Wentworth, who's a Speaker of the House of Representatives, Jim Shirkey, the Senate Majority Leader, and Youssef Rabbi, who's a Democratic floor leader. They talked about a lot of things in indigent defense funding. I also learned that there was something we call the county or the incentive program. We were one of 60 counties that got shorted. That was before my time. Again, I've only been here since August the 3rd. But apparently the state owes us money because they didn't pay us the full state revenue sharing. So we're one of those 60 counties. And then right at the last minute, as the ARP was coming out, there was $1.5 billion allocated for the counties that are PILT, payment in lieu of taxes. So these are places with federal lands that don't pay taxes. They actually pay us money to not pay their taxes. And so we are a PILT county. I have no idea how much of the $1.5 billion will be allocated, but staying on top of that. So I have put this into your packet from NACO there, and you can see on the third page there. The first one should definitely be 6.8 million. The second one is some figure of the 1.5 billion. I don't know what Houghton County will be allocated, but trying to stay on top of that as best as I can, as that'll be audited for sure, and everyone's going to really have a lot of scrutiny on the money that comes. So trying to stay up as best I can on that. So.
And then apparently there's a 151-page document out. Have you started looking at that yet or not?
I just got it. Yeah,
I just heard about it. So.
I just got it. Yes, okay. It just came out yesterday. I got it today. Yes, from Michigan Association of Counties. But yes, I will read all 151 pages.
Good.
I didn't get it done this afternoon.
Let us know what it says.
Well, I will.
Next item is the ATC tower easement in Calumet Township.
So in your packets, I have a picture. So at the end of the Tower Road, so by the Calumet State Police Post, if anyone wants to see this, if you go to the Calumet State Police Post and you turn left on the next road, it's called Tower Road. At the end of that road, it'll make kind of a horseshoe around, and you will see this. If you use a Verizon telephone in Calumet, you are using this. So there is razor wire around this, and they now have a contract with us where they pay about $800 a month to put their needle on land that is owned by Houghton County. Last year, this was proposed to my predecessor. I don't think the commissioners heard about that. So they have now asked me again, would the commissioners consider this? They asked me to take a figure of $126,500. I said no. So now I do have in your packets for you. They did accept a higher offer of $132,000. So this will give them a permanent easement to use this tower. If you agree to this, we still own the land. If they take cell phones out, or if something happens with satellites or something, we don't need this tower, the land would come back to the Houghton County ownership. So all they want to do is have a permanent easement to keep this tower here and use this for Verizon telephones in Calumet. So I've ran it by our attorney, Roger Zappa. He's in favor of this if you are. And again, all I'm asking you for permission tonight is to either go forward or not go forward with this. And then our attorney was reviewing paperwork that I actually got at about 3:30 this afternoon. But I'll do nothing before the attorney signs off on it, and just want your blessing to either look at this or not look at this. They're interested to get a permanent easement for this.
I'll make the motion that we move forward with that permanent easement with the ATC.
I support that.
Moved by Commissioner Britt, supported by Commissioner Tickinen to move forward with that tower easement. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries. County property holdings.
Can you call it up for us, Tom, please? So in your packets, you have a zip drive, so you can plug that into your computer at home. All you have to do is download the Google Earth platform. But if you do that and you put that onto your computer, that will tell you every single bit of property that we have as a county. So we had a really neat chance. Again, when we had this, again, I'm new. For those of you that don't know me, I just started here. I didn't even know that we had the tower under the land under the tower. So I asked Sarah Hoogie, who's our new building coordinator, could we actually look at what do we own? And so it led us to this article here, and it's on your zip drives. And you also have a paper document of each of these. But this is all land that is owned by Houghton County, including our mineral rights. So very easily, you can click on any of those properties. Can you click on one of them for us, please, Tom? So that will tell you everything that is. Do we own the mineral rights? Do we not? What is that piece of property? So again, it was just something that I was familiarizing myself.
What is that one?
Zoom out a little bit, Tom. You all can do. You download Google Earth. You're
to know all this now. So.
If you go to do Google Earth, you jam that in there. You can click on it. And it'll tell you the longitude, latitude coordinates. That is a property that you own. Houghton County owns this.
Right.
So I think that's a really neat way for if none of you know exactly what we have now, you will know every single piece of property that we have, mineral rights included. So I think it's a neat thing for you to have. And again, you have it on paper, and Jennifer has a copy, but you also have a zip drive, and I can get you one.
Very good. We can do that at home. We'll move on to the next item. Marina and transfer station updates.
So we've had a lot of things happen at both. So there are two of our enterprise funds. Of course, Dennis with the airport is our third enterprise fund. Going to meet with Jeff. So of course, if you don't know, the marina opened on May 1. There was a lot of problems at the marina. Just being honest with you. If you went into the men's shower, this will sound like a joke, but it's not. You were actually taking a shower through a quarter. And some enterprising person that was one of our maintenance team had taken a quarter and had drilled 30 little holes through. And that is how these millionaires that come park a boat are taking a shower. Come on now, we can get a shower head. So we have new shower heads in both the bathhouse, men and women's shower facilities. The marina roof where we collect the credit cards when you fill up your boat is unreal. And I can't accept that. So we did put a new roof on the guard shack. This is a channel. If you were to go to the marina, you'll see this spillway here. So the debris comes up from 41, uphill 41 up there, and it comes under the bank here. So this is the bridge here, and it comes under a long tube. Then there's a sump pond here, 100% full, heaping with sand. Then there's two tubes that come down to this spillway here, 100% full of sand. This spillway is 100% full of sand. And then we have a 56 by 20 foot plume that comes out here. So this we're allowed to clean, but I talked to DEQ about possibly getting this and the Michigan Army Corps of Engineers leader, whose name is Gene Battle, to possibly clean that out. So this is what it looks like if you were to go to the marina and look. So there are 2 other culverts here that are 100% full. This has about 10% flowage. So this sand is coming out, and the guy from DEQ said you can do that, but you must get a permit for it. So that's still another job that's ahead of us. On land, this has been cleared. We're good to go up here, but this is certainly, and it's ruining 3 of our slips. So rather than rent out a 40-foot boat, which gives us a lot of revenue, we can only rent out a 20-foot boat here. So this obviously is a problem for us. So long-term, we're looking at it. If you haven't heard, City of Houghton is looking at a $3 million dock that cruise ships could come right by the Upco building. And if we get steam shovels on pontoon boats, it would be really great to have them come and take care of this, but we need to have that permit in hand. So I have gotten that done. And that's also, there was a lot of trip hazards with broken concrete. We had that replaced, and there was a lot of damaged soil area that also has got a little bit of TLC. So they opened proudly on May 1. Also on the east end of the marina, there is no Wi-Fi service. So if you are coming off the bridge again, the west end's got wonderful service, right by the guard shack, wonderful service, but all of our slip lease people on the east side have terrible service. So now they have an upgraded service. We also are putting in cameras for security there, and then LED lights, which will save us money on each of the 26 light stanchions that are around the property. So that's happening. At the transfer station, you have a check in your folder there. We did sell the old transfer station up at 404 Technical Drive. That got us roughly $55,000 that we've been certainly taking care of a lot of problems. So if you understand our trash station, our transfer station, they don't have hot water. And you know, we got hot water. So hot water happened this week.
All right.
We're happy about that. The rails where the bins float up and down, they were all coming loose from the floor. Those got fixed. Also, when liquids are squashed into the bins, there's a catch basin that was also needed addressing, so we did that. And again, Glenn and Tom have already talked about recycling, so we're excited that that's happening. There's been a lot of stuff cooking around here, but that's a quick update of what's happening there. Also, you have a tonnage report, and again, this comes out every month. We also will start to have a recycling one, so we now have at least one ton that has not gone into the landfill. So we'll also have a recycling tonnage. But this is something I give to the commissioners every month, so you can see that in there. Next month, you'll have recycling also. So Sarah Hoogie does that from the building department for you.
We have item 7, we have 3 appropriations. You can take them as one. They're all budgeted items.
I'll make a motion that we approve the appropriations.
Support. Moved by Commissioner Jansen, supported by Commissioner Britz to pay these appropriations. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Jansen?
Yes.
Commissioner Britz?
Yes.
Commissioner Tikkanen?
Yes.
Commissioner Koskela?
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Carries.
And then just one question on the North Care again, the 28,000, is that semi-annually or is that?
That's half of the liquor tax that we collect. Yes, that's the mid-year. We do it twice a year.
So that's semi-annual. Yep, thank you.
No problem.
Item 8. Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, well, one thing, I mean, I'll make a motion in a second, but of course, when we went into last fall's budget, we all took a very frugal approach and we eliminated all travel and training, training/travel for all employees in Houghton County. And that made sense, and I voted for that. As we get ready to come into the spring, you know, we are seeing, you know, the state charter revenue held. We didn't lose anything. We're certainly getting a significant increase from the American Rescue Plan and perhaps an additional PILT funds. And we still got 4 months in the fiscal year to go. So my proposal would be is we take 1/3 of the budget we did a year ago, and then Ben can put that in, if it's approved, Ben can put that into the budget amendments next time we do a budget amendment. So my specific motion is we would restore 4 months of training budgets effective June 1st for this fiscal year.
Would it be better if we did that once we got that money in case we don't get it?
Well, what money aren't we going to get?
Talking about spending. It wasn't in the budget. Now we're getting this money from somewhere, but we got to wait till we get the money before we.
Well, this will be effective. Well, we've been frugal enough. I mean, we got to certainly. To me, the 4 months, even in the current budget, we can probably absorb it. But we do know. I mean, I assure you, we all know that we're going to get more money. And of course, anything that was cut from a COVID reason is reimbursable, as I think pretty much we all know. So yeah, even the training budgets would be.
It'd be a COVID expense.
Probably, I think you'd make an argument, especially many of these are related to training related to COVID. I mean, that's still out there. I mean, the American Rescue Plan, Ben and others are going to have to get up to speed on that. And you see the MAC is going to have in the end of July some of the mini summits that they're still expecting to have in person, which, you know, I certainly continuing education for this position is important too. So anyway, that's my motion.
I'll support.
Moved by Mr. Anderson, supported by Jensen to reinstate travel.
Just can I ask a question? Or
sure.
These statewide training events has there been any feedback, Glenn? Are you aware of are other counties sending people to, you know, personally attend these? Or
my understanding is, yeah, I mean, yes, there are. I mean, things are starting to get back somewhat to normal, and I guess it may never be normal completely, but yes, there are.
And I imagine this would also include then the annual or the fall quarterly meeting that they always have down at Waters Meet, or not Waters Meet, but Upcap at
Skanaba,
which was just discussed recently with the LEO workforce board.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I mean, look at, you know, the MAC thing, you know, the magazine that was out recently, it said late July, the regional summits for MAC, Michigan Association of Counties, will return to in-person. You know, I mean, that's, I mean,
I don't know if quite what the financial impact is here, but I do agree that we've been missing out on that networking with other, particularly with other UP.
Yeah, that Zoom business, it's worthless.
Well, you know, it's better than nothing, but not much better. And there is a lot of good stuff that's brought back from those. You know, those are pretty intensive meetings.
I guess I would ask the question of Mr. Larson if he can put those things back in the budget at this time before we do them. Otherwise, we're sticking our neck out.
I'd be glad to report to you what the impact would be, but I'd have to look at it. But if you want me to look at it, I'm happy to do that. If you want to do this, we'll look into it for sure. And just so you know, Tom, I did get something from UpCap. The date of that will be October 7 and 8 in Escanaba.
Right.
So after the budget or the audit was just completed, you're comfortable or not comfortable with?
We're in a pretty good spot right now. Yeah, we're doing okay.
And again, I think, you know, this board took hard action, and Ben has been watching the dollars, as we all know. I mean, very efficiently, very, very frugally. It watches everything going out here. So, I mean, that's good. And again, I voted for the freeze on training, but I think, you know, again, things are looking better, and the opportunity for more training, I think, for all our employees is important. So
I would say that if Ben thinks this will work, it's going to work.
And I also see it in my profession that we're all lacking in training today, and we're falling behind. And I think it's important to get back up into it.
When would this take effect?
I say my motion was June 1st, so I guess four months. You know, June, July, August, September. So 1/3 of the fiscal year.
Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Jansen?
Yes.
Commissioner Ticknen?
Yes.
Commissioner Koskela?
Yes.
Commissioner Britz?
Yes.
Carries. Public comments come alive again. Naomi.
Hi, I'd like to address Tom Tickman there with the Airbnb idea. I agree with you on keeping it local. I do have an Airbnb myself, and speaking from that perspective, we do advertise ours as a non-party, and we limit it to only 2 people. So I would encourage our commissioners or townships that before just chopping off the head, there's other alternative solutions, such as saying you have to have a non-partying place, and then we live right there. You know, it's above my So Crazy shop, so we are there. So we've never ever had an issue at all. And I'd be very curious if whoever is reporting problems, if we could get, you know, who's causing the problem so that we can we can know that indeed there is a problem. If anybody's ever reported of my renters being a problem, I'd like to know that. Do the people who've been reported as having a problem, do the owners know that? Are they always told? That's my question.
And I don't have an answer
You
for you
don't? Okay.
because one thing is people might call me with these complaints, but they find out right away that the county doesn't have ordinances. That's handled at the municipal level. So in this case, it would have been Calumet Township, which was reported to them. And by and large, there are no restrictions against Airbnb. I believe in the city of Houghton, they adopted something.
And Hancock.
And Hancock as well. But other than that, it's wide open. So it's just something to be aware of.
And that's just my opinion.
There's very
go to your township supervisor on that if you want to change something, because they can have an ordinance. We county can't.
Yeah, there's very few county-wide ordinances. It gets confusing up in this neck of the woods, though, because if you go north of the border into Kevena County, they have county level zoning, which is relatively rare in the state of Michigan. I think another example of that would be, is it Alger or Luce County, one of those two. But for the most part, that's why local government, the more local you can keep your government, the better off you are. And that starts at your village, township, city, and if need be, county level. Don't rely on the county. They won't get much done for you.
Any others? I see a hand. Oh, Mary.
This is me. Regarding the mental health transportation, it's my understanding, to make sure that my facts are right, okay, that the Portage Health Foundation and Kevin Storer is working with Marquette Hospital for that. They have like a residency program, and they,
yes,
right, you guys, we heard this before. Is it possible to, I know it's $100,000 for our county to do all this transportation. Is there some way that we can fractionalize that money and put that into that program that Kevin Storer is working on? He said it was the money is the issue, that we can't keep a doc around to head up that program there in Marquette. Is that right? Everybody heard that when Kevin was talking about that at that meeting? That's my understanding of that. But is our county the only county that has that impact, or is it the other surrounding counties? And can we work together with those counties to fractionalize that transportation cost, to put it in with Kevin Storer's program to get a doc to stay up here so we don't have to transport any farther than Marquette?
It's a little bit more than that, Mary.
Is it?
You have to have a hospital that'll take these. And we don't have one around here to take those kind of people. That's why we have to send them to places that will take them.
But it's the problem with that is money, right?
Marquette doesn't have the beds. I know from that, being undersheriff, constantly we're told they don't have a bed. That's why they're shipping them south.
That's why they're shipping them. So
it's not just a doctor, it's also the bed availability.
Well, if you work with Kevin, is there a way that we can create that atmosphere?
Like, you mean have Kevin buy some beds or what?
Well, and maybe, I mean, think through this a little bit. And Kevin's able to do that. And we have the medical people that are able to think through that maybe we can come up with something maybe off-site of Marquette or something more centralized. But if we can fractionalize that money from all these different counties and put it into one pot, maybe we can do that. I mean, you work with that. Is that feasible?
A lot of we're getting hit quite so hard because we have mental health right here in Houghton. And Kevena, Alberga, they don't have a lot of them come here. So we get a lot of extra outside transportation, not just Houghton County residents. That's why we get hit quite so hard.
But, in order to address what, which is not a bad idea, what you're visualizing, but we need some direction and leadership from those professionals with mental health, starting with our local mental health services right here in Houghton County, the Mental Health Board, and on up the chain. Right now, the county gets, a phone call saying, hey, we've got to bring this person to, Auburn Hills or wherever downstate. And, your desk sergeants and that are scrambling to find a couple of badges and you know, and the overtime kicks in. So it's hard really for the county to even come up with a number. I mean, this is almost like a triage operation here that goes on, and it's totally under the radar. Nobody downstate is aware or cares about it. And apparently locally with agencies that I would hope could pitch in and help us with this are seemingly unaware of it as well.
Is there a way of setting up some kind of a subcommittee or something that could truly research this? You know, maybe the police.
I think one of the best things, and Tom, you already mentioned it, was Wisconsin-Michigan border. You know, if we can get the governors together to accept it. I remember one time we brought by court order one to Duluth. We got back here and the prosecutor called me and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, we had a court order transport. Go and get that person. It's not illegal transport." So we had to go back to Duluth and pick that person up. But Rhinelander has a hospital, you know, that's 2-3 hours, 2.5 to 3 hours away. They can do that in a shift, you know, but it's the states working together and accepting the transport across the state line.
My question on that is, we have a hospital up in Laurium, we have one in Hancock, and there's one in Berga. Couldn't they come up with one bed even in those 3 hospitals, one room in those 3 hospitals to do that?
I think it comes down to their being equipped to handle it.
Well, equip it.
That's what dollars kick in.
Well, no, they got the dollars. They got Blue Cross and Medicare and all the rest of it, and Medicaid. We don't have that fund.
Right. Well, you have to have the doctor too, the psychiatrist. So this discussion needs to be carried on, and in the meantime, keep the steady positive pressure on your legislators. Make sure that they're aware of it. They are aware of it. You need to remind them.
Well, the next thing is announcements, and
we have one public comment request.
Huh?
We have one public comment request.
Shoot.
One moment. Jim Yates. Okay, sounds like I'm unmuted. Thank you. So good evening. My name is Jim Yates. I'm on the MSU Extension Veterans Outreach Team. I cover the UP and 11 counties in northern Michigan. I focus on addressing issues of food insecurity among veterans through the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as the Food Assistance Program, or you might know it as the food stamps, through the My Bridges and use of a bridge card. You know, of course, SNAP is available to anyone who qualifies, not just veterans, but looking at some statistics, 12% of American households are food insecure, but as many as 27% of veterans are food insecure. And unfortunately, 59% of eligible veterans are not enrolled in SNAP. So we can kind of see the need in closing the veteran enrollment gap. And we define veteran as anyone that has served or is serving. And so we've kind of found that the lack of enrollment is likely a result of stigma around receiving SNAP benefits and a lack of awareness, you know, within the veteran community. However, we found that given the proper outreach materials and support from those having rapport and regular contact with the veteran, many food insecure veterans are receptive to applying for SNAP. And MSU Extension will continue engaging in outreach with our materials, you know, that we have tailored specifically for veterans, and we ask for your help in just reaching veterans in need. Food insecurity is linked to chronic pain and obesity, which are linked to diabetes, all of which are more prevalent and of greater intensity in veterans than in the general population. And MSU Extension offers several programs relating to those topics, tailored specifically for veterans and their families, including chronic pain, disease, and diabetes health programs, mental health first aid, stress less with mindfulness programs, farm stress training, and many more, such as Heroes to Hives, which is a unique and popular program for veterans interested in beekeeping. And you know, in closing, I want to note that MSU Extension colleagues that serve Houghton County help promote veterans programs and help us connect with Houghton County veterans. And so please let me know if you would like any outreach materials such as brochures mailed to you. And more information and our contact information can be found by searching MSU Extension Veterans Programming. And on Facebook, look for MSU Extension Veterans Outreach. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Yates, hello? Are you still there? Are you in contact with our Veteran Service office here in Houghton County?
Yes, I am.
Okay, good. So so you're getting all that information to their office as well?
Yes, I am. We just, certainly reach out to the VSO. That's our main, source of kind of contact. And of course, we reach out to, if we can make that connection to the American Legions and the VFWs, Marine Corps Leagues,
very good.
Lions clubs, anything like that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And then Chairman,
Fire.
may I be recognized? As certainly Tom knows, I am not a fan of Mike Lindell and I've watched the Absolute Truth, but I'm not going that direction. And I respect the citizens and the concerns and questions raised today. I respect that, they have a different opinion than mine, but I do think Mary Sears had a great suggestion. I mean, our sitting, state senator is chair of the Senate Oversight Committee. And I do think we should ask him to use his oversight committee to take a look at this. So my motion, if you would entertain a motion, and at least I'll mention it, and then you can decide if you want to entertain it or not. I realize it's not on the agenda, but would request the Senate Oversight Committee to investigate and do a report on the Mike Lindell intrusion claims specifically for Houghton County. And they have more assets than we'll ever have, and at least maybe he'll take a run with it, maybe he won't. But I guess that would be my motion if you're willing to entertain a motion.
You entertain it? You want to entertain a motion? You make a motion?
I'll make the motion if you accept it.
Is there a second?
I'll second it. I believe that I've got enough phone calls and emails about this. We need to put them in.
Moved by Commissioner Anderson, supported by Commissioner Britz to get a hold of McBroom. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries. The next item is item L, announcements. I have one announcement to make, and that is to thank all you people for coming here. It's nice to see some real faces for once.
Yeah.
And then I'd entertain a motion on item M.
I'd love to make that motion.
I'll second it.
We are adjourned.
Thank you for coming.